So a lot of Vuex magic was done over the last lectures, a lot of things that don't really are connected to authentication, at least not directly. The core issue we have is that damn token which we need to authenticate ourselves. The auth object on Firebase isn't available because we got a token, we got it in the store, but we're not passing it on with our HTTP requests to our Firebase database. Time to change that. Now, the cool thing is, passing on the token is actually super simple. In store user, where we access a URL where we need the token, we can also extract the current state from our context object. And the state is, of course, where we store the token. Now here, we can simply check if state ID token is set, so if this field is not null, and if this were null, so I'm adding an exclamation mark, we could just return and not make this HTTP request. In all other cases, we know we have the token, and now we simply have to append something to that URL. And that, of course, now again depends on the backend you're using. Some might require you to send an authorization header which contains the token. Firebase requires you to pass an additional query param, auth. Auth equals is what you have to add, and then you set this equal to state ID token, so to that token you got. And I'll do the exact same thing for my other request. So for fetching users here. There I'll replace this with global access post and my ID token check. Post is then again replaced with get, of course, because I have a get request, and that is all. Now the user data here, this argument of course also has to be removed. It's a get request. But with that, we're now passing on the token for Firebase as a query param, for your own backend, maybe differently. The key thing is we're extracting it from the state, from the store therefore, and we're appending it to our request. With that, if we now go back and I sign up again, where we should then also store the user data. If I use another unused email address, enter a age here, some password, maybe a hobby, and accept the terms, and I hit submit. Now you see we get 2 successful responses, and now you can also see in your Firebase database, if you click on data, that we got new users here. That's the user I just created. So this is now working. Now we're finally using that token for something good. Now if we go back to the application, to the dashboard, there we still get an error though, because we essentially have an error in the state, and we also try to read the property email at a point of time we don't have it yet, because we try to output it right from the start, even if we have no email yet. Now let's fix this quickly too. Let's first of all work on that email thing. A nice fix is to go to the email computed property, and there where we try to fetch it on a user, even if user might be null, let's simply return either this store getters user, either false if that is falsy, so that will be the case as long as user is null, or return our other original code if user is set. So this should prevent this error. Now the state is not defined error is stemming from the store.js file. In fetch user, I'm accessing state ID token, but I forgot to also extract state from this context object. So let me quickly do this here. As soon as I do this, if I now reload this page, you see I still got this null error because I messed this up. Of course, I want to check if not this store getters user, so if this is falsy, as I explained it but didn't code it. So now with that saved, now if I reload, you see false here. Now it never updates though. The reason for this makes sense though. I reloaded the app and therefore our token was lost. Let me stay in the app and quickly log in and now go to dashboard, and now you see it correctly switches. And of course, since outputting false isn't too pretty, we can also use if on the paragraph and check that we only output this if email is true-ish. So as long as it is false, the whole paragraph will be hidden. So now if I reload this, we don't even see that. If I do sign in, though, however, again, and go back to dashboard, it appears after it loaded it. So now all of that is working. Now we're using this token, we're passing it on, and therefore we got authentication implemented. There are still things we can improve though. For example, updating the header depending on the authentication state and preventing us from accessing dashboard in the first place if we're not authenticated. Let's start with this access prevention, this guard, in the next lecture.